The bank statement trembled in my hands as I stared at the numbers that didn't add up. $15,000. That's how much my husband had been siphoning from our joint account each month for the past year. I'd trusted Brett with our finances. After all, he was the financial advisor, and I was just the marketing executive who brought home the bigger paycheck. My name is Danielle, and until 10 minutes ago, I thought I had the perfect marriage. "Honey, I'm heading out to meet Edgar for drinks," Brett called from downstairs, the same Edgar he'd been meeting for drinks every Thursday for months. "Have fun," I managed to keep my voice steady, though my hands were shaking. "Don't be too late." The front door clicked shut, and I collapsed onto our bedroom floor, still clutching the damning evidence. I'd only checked our accounts because our credit card had been declined at lunch with my best friend Clara. A simple embarrassment that led to an earth-shattering discovery. My phone buzzed. Speaking of Clara. "Did you figure out what happened with the card?" she asked. "Oh, I figured it out all right." I tried to laugh, but it came out as a sob. "Brett's been stealing from me." "What? Are you serious?" Clara's voice rose an octave. "How much?" "Enough to buy a small house." I pulled up the calculator on my phone. "Around 180,000, give or take." "That son of a—" Clara took a deep breath. "I'm coming over, right now." "No, don't." I stood up, straightening my spine. "He's out with Edgar tonight. I need to think." "Out with Edgar? Again?" Clara paused. "Dan, when was the last time you actually spoke to Edgar?" My blood ran cold. I scrolled through my phone contacts and hit Edgar's number before I could lose my nerve. He answered on the second ring. "Danielle, everything okay?" "Hey, Edgar." I forced cheerfulness into my voice. "Quick question. How's drinks with Brett?" A confused silence followed. "Drinks with Brett? I haven't seen Brett in weeks. I'm actually in Phoenix for a conference." The floor seemed to tilt beneath my feet. "Oh, my mistake. Must have mixed up my days. Have fun in Phoenix." I hung up and immediately opened my laptop. Brett had always insisted on handling our online banking, but he'd forgotten one crucial detail. I'm the one who set up all our passwords when we first got married, including his email. 5 minutes later, I was staring at email after email from someone named Zara. My vision blurred as I read through their exchanges, the money transfers, the hotel receipts, the promises of a future together once he'd saved enough to leave his controlling wife. My phone buzzed again. "Clara." "I'm going to kill him," she declared before I could speak. "No," I said, my voice eerily calm as a plan began forming in my mind. "I have a better idea." I opened another email from Zara, this one containing a selfie. She was beautiful, probably in her early 20s, with the kind of innocent smile that suggested she actually believed Brett's lies about his unhappy marriage. "Clara," I said, "remember that charity I did marketing work for last year? The one that helps women rebuild their lives after divorce?" "Yeah, Athena's organization. Why?" A cold smile spread across my face as I began typing Brett's banking password. "Because I think it's time for some karmic redistribution." "Danielle?" Clara's tone was both worried and impressed. "What are you planning?" "Nothing illegal," I assured her, though my fingers were flying across the keyboard. "Just a little lesson in consequences. Brett wants to hide money from his wife. Fine, but he's about to learn that karma has a way of coming full circle." I heard the garage door opening downstairs. Brett was home early. "He's back," I whispered. "I'll call you tomorrow." I quickly closed the laptop and slipped the bank statement into my bedside drawer. Footsteps on the stairs. I grabbed a book and pretended to read. Brett appeared in the doorway, his collar slightly askew. "Hey, babe. Edgar couldn't make it tonight, so I came home early." I looked up and smiled, channeling every ounce of acting ability I possessed. "That's too bad. How about I make us some tea?" He relaxed visibly, probably relieved I wasn't asking questions. "Sounds perfect." As I headed downstairs, my mind was already racing ahead. Brett thought he was so clever, playing both sides, building his nest egg with my hard-earned money. but he'd forgotten something crucial about me. I didn't get to where I am by being naive. Tomorrow, I'd start making calls, but tonight I'd serve him tea with honey, kiss him goodnight, and let him think his secret was safe. After all, revenge, like the best marketing campaigns, requires careful planning and perfect timing, and I was very, very good at my job. "You're scary calm about this," Clara said, stirring her coffee as we sat in the back corner of a cafe 3 blocks from my office. If it were me, I'd have set his clothes on fire by now. I glanced around to make sure no one was within earshot. Burning his designer suits would be satisfying for about 5 minutes. I want something that lasts. So what's the plan? Clara leaned forward, her eyes sparkling with that same look she got when we used to plot revenge against mean girls in high school. "First, I need to figure out exactly how much he's been sending to this Zara person." I pulled out my phone and showed her the screenshots I'd taken. "Look at these messages. He's promising her a fortune." Clara scrolled through them, her expression darkening. "What a piece of work. Just a few more months, baby, and we'll have enough to start our new life." "Gross." She looked up at me. "Have you talked to Athena yet?" "Meeting her for lunch tomorrow. If anyone knows how to handle this legally, it's her." I took a sip of my Americano. The tricky part will be moving the money without Brett noticing. "Speaking of Brett," Clara nodded toward the cafe entrance. I turned to see Edgar walking in, looking exhausted from his Phoenix trip. Perfect timing. "Edgar," I called out, waving him over. "How was the conference?" He headed our way, coffee in hand, confusion flickering across his face. "Productive, but jet lag's killing me. Listen, about that call yesterday." "Join us," I interrupted, pulling out a chair. "We were just talking about Brett's latest investment strategy." Edgar sat down, his discomfort obvious. "Danielle, It's okay," I said softly. "I know he's not really meeting you for drinks on Thursdays." Relief and guilt warred on Edgar's face. "I wanted to tell you, but he's your friend. I get it." I touched his arm. "I'm not angry with you, but I do need your help." "Anything," he said immediately. "Has Brett mentioned any unusual transactions at work? Large transfers? New accounts?" Edgar's expression changed. "Actually, yes. He's been asking me to sign off on some irregular wire transfers. Said they were for a new client, but the paperwork seemed off." Clara and I exchanged looks. "How off?" "Like potentially illegal off." Edgar lowered his voice. "I've been documenting everything just in case. Yesterday, he asked me to approve another transfer, 50,000 to an offshore account." My heart raced. "When?" "The transfer's scheduled for next Friday." Edgar ran a hand through his hair. "I've been trying to figure out how to report it without destroying his career, but—" "Don't report it yet," I said quickly. "I need you to delay the approval. Can you do that? Just for a week?" He nodded slowly. "Yeah, I could say the compliance department needs additional verification. But Danielle, what are you planning?" My phone buzzed, a text from Brett. "Taking Zara to Mauritius next month. Need to move some funds around. Don't check the accounts for a few days. Doing some rebalancing." I showed the text to Clara and Edgar. "Mauritius?" Clara scoffed. "With your money?" "Not anymore." I stood up, gathering my things. "Edgar, stall that transfer. Clara, I need you to help me set up a meeting." "With who?" "Zara." I smiled grimly. "I think it's time she learned where her vacation fund really comes from." "How are you going to manage that without Brett knowing?" Edgar asked. "Simple." I pulled up Zara's social media profile. According to this, she works at Bloom Marketing. Guess who just hired them for their next campaign? Clara's eyes widened. "Your company?" "As of this morning." I shouldered my bag. Sometimes karma needs a little push in the right direction. "Be careful," Edgar warned. "If Brett figures out what you're doing—" "He won't," I assured him. "He's too busy planning his romantic getaway to notice that his wife is about to become his worst nightmare." As I walked back to my office, I typed out a response to Brett's text. "Of course, honey. Take all the time you need. Love you." Let him think I was oblivious. Let him plan his perfect escape with his perfect young girlfriend. By the time he realized what was happening, it would be too late to stop it. My phone buzzed again, an email confirmation for tomorrow's lunch with Athena. The pieces were falling into place. Brett had spent a year building his house of cards, thinking he was untouchable. But he'd forgotten the first rule of marketing: know your audience. And I knew exactly who needed to see this show when the curtain finally went up. So he's been using your income to fund his affair. Athena's fork paused halfway to her mouth. We were sitting in her office, takeout containers spread across her desk. That's a new level of audacity. The best part? I pulled up Brett's email on my tablet. He's been telling Zara the money comes from his investment genius. Look at this message. Baby, your faith in me is why I work so hard. Another successful trade. Athena's eyes narrowed as she read. And you want to redirect the funds to our organization. Every penny he's stolen, plus whatever he's planning to take. I leaned forward. The question is, can we do it legally? Actually, we can. Athena pulled out a folder. Since you're the primary earner and he's been misappropriating your income without consent, we have grounds. I've drawn up the paperwork. All we need is to document the transfers. My phone buzzed. A text from Clara. Meeting set with Bloom Marketing. Tomorrow, 2 p.m., Zara confirmed. Perfect timing, I murmured, showing Athena the text. Are you sure about meeting her? Athena asked. It could complicate things. I need to see her face when she realizes. My phone buzzed again. Brett. Hey, beautiful. Working late tonight. Don't wait up. I typed back quickly. No problem. Girls' night with Clara anyway. Love you. Athena watched me with concern. How are you holding up? I'm fine. I straightened my spine. Better than fine. I'm focused. That's what worries me. She handed me the folder. Just remember, revenge isn't always sweet. This isn't just about revenge. I stood up, gathering my things. It's about justice. For every woman who's ever been betrayed and gaslit by someone they trusted. Back at my office, I spent the afternoon preparing for tomorrow's meeting. Bloom Marketing's proposal sat on my desk, but my real focus was on the financial documents Edgar had sent over. Brett's paper trail was messy. He'd gotten cocky, thinking no one would look too closely. My computer pinged, an email from Zara to Brett. Can't wait for Mauritius, but worried about the transfer delay. Everything okay? I smiled, forwarding it to Edgar. 2 minutes later, my phone rang. She's getting nervous, Edgar said. Brett's been hounding me about that transfer all day. Perfect. Keep stalling. Has he mentioned the compliance review? Yeah, he's freaking out. Keeps saying he needs the money by next week. Trust me, I said. He won't be going anywhere next week. After hanging up, I opened my banking app. Brett thought he was clever with his transfers, but he'd forgotten who set up our online security questions. Within minutes, I had access to everything. The numbers made me sick. Not just the money he'd taken, but the future he'd planned without me. House listings in Mauritius, joint investment accounts with Zara, even a new life insurance policy, with her as the beneficiary. My hands shook as I started the process Athena had outlined. One by one, I began redirecting the funds to the charity's secure account. Not stealing, reclaiming. With each transfer, I documented everything meticulously. Clara called just as I finished the last transfer. You ready for tomorrow? She asked. Almost. I pulled up Zara's social media again. Did you see her latest post? Sometimes the biggest blessings come in unexpected packages. If she only knew. Are you going to tell her everything? No. I closed my laptop. I'm going to let her discover it herself. I've left enough breadcrumbs. Once she starts pulling on the threads. You're scary good at this, Clara said. Remind me never to cross you. I learned from the best. I grabbed my coat. Brett taught me everything I need to know about deception. As I drove home, I thought about the next phase of the plan. Tomorrow, I'd meet Zara face to face. She'd see me as just another potential client, not knowing she was looking at the wife of the man she thought would give her everything. Brett was home when I arrived, working on his laptop in the kitchen. "How was girls' night?" he asked, barely looking up. "Enlightening." I kissed his cheek. "How was work?" "Frustrating. Some issues with compliance." He rubbed his temples. "Nothing I can't handle." "Of course not," I said soothingly. "You always figure things out." He smiled, reaching for my hand. "That's why I love you. You have so much faith in me." I squeezed his hand, thinking of all his emails to Zara with those exact words. "Always, honey. Always." Tomorrow the real show would begin. But tonight, I'd let him believe in his perfect plan one last time. The Bloom Marketing conference room felt smaller than I'd expected. Zara sat across from me, professional and poised in a blazer that probably cost 3 months of her real salary, not the one Brett subsidized. She had no idea who I was, but I knew everything about her, down to her coffee order, oat milk latte, extra shot. "Your proposal is impressive," I said, flipping through the presentation, "especially the social media strategy." "Thank you," she beamed with pride. "I actually developed that section myself." "I can tell." I pulled out my phone, making a show of checking something. "Your personal accounts have quite the following. Very aspirational." Her smile faltered slightly. "Oh, you've seen my social media. Hard to miss." I turned my phone around, showing her recent post about manifesting dreams, especially that gorgeous watch in your latest photo. Cartier, right? "Yes." She touched the watch unconsciously. "A gift from someone special." "Must be very special." I smiled. "Those run about 30,000, don't they?" Before she could respond, my phone buzzed. Brett's name flashed on the screen. I let Zara see it before declining the call. "Sorry, my husband. He's been stressed about work lately. Something about compliance issues with transfers." The color drained from her face. "I should check if my team needs me." "Actually," I slid an envelope across the table. "You might want to look at this first." Her hands trembled as she opened it. Inside were printouts of Brett's transfers, from our account to hers, along with his emails promising her the world with my money. "I don't understand," she whispered. "These transfers are from my account," I finished. "I'm Brett's wife. The one he told you was controlling and financially irresponsible." She stood up so quickly her chair toppled backward. "This is inappropriate. I need to—" "Sit down, Zara." My voice was steel wrapped in silk. "Unless you want the SEC to receive an anonymous tip about your involvement in financial fraud." She sank back into her righted chair. "I didn't know," she said softly. "He told me the money was from his investments. Brett's good at telling stories." I pulled out another document. "But here's a real story for you. That transfer he promised for your Mauritius trip, it's not coming." "What do you mean?" "Check your account." She grabbed her phone, fingers shaking as she pulled up her banking app. Her eyes widened. It's empty. Everything's gone." "Not gone," I corrected. "Redirected to a charity that helps women rebuild their lives after being deceived by men like Brett." "You can't do that." Her voice rose. "That money was promised to me." "Actually, I can." And I did, legally. I stood up, gathering my things. "By the way, Brett doesn't know yet. I'm sure he'll be thrilled to hear how you lost all my money." My phone buzzed again. Edgar this time. I answered on speaker. "Danielle," his voice was urgent. "Brett's losing it. He just tried to force me to approve the transfer. When I refused, he threatened to report me for interference." Zara's face crumpled as reality crashed down around her. "Let him," I said calmly. "I'm sure the Financial Review Board would love to hear his explanation." After hanging up, I turned back to Zara. "He'll probably call you soon, promising to fix this. But ask yourself, if he'd lied to his wife of 10 years, what makes you think he's been honest with you?" "Get out," she whispered. "Gladly." I headed for the door, then paused. "Oh, and Zara, that watch you're wearing. I'd hold on to it. It might be the only real thing he ever gave you." Back in my car, I called Clara. "How'd it go?" she asked. "Better than expected. Brett's about to... My phone beeped with another call. Speaking of the devil, gotta go. I switched lines. Hi, honey. What did you do? Brett's voice shook with rage. Edgar's blocking my transfers. My accounts are empty, and I just got a hysterical call from a client. A client? I kept my voice innocent. Or your girlfriend. Silence. We should talk about this at home, I said sweetly. I'll order dinner. How about that Thai place you took Zara to last month? The one you charged to our joint card. Danielle, see you at 7, darling. Don't be late. Oh, and Brett, better cancel that Mauritius booking. I hear the weather's terrible this time of year. I hung up and started my car, humming softly. The stage was set, the players were in position, and the final act was about to begin. Brett thought he was the director of this story, but he was about to learn who really called the shots, and I had a feeling the ending would surprise everyone except me. The Thai food was getting cold on the dining room table when the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting it to be Zara, but there she stood, mascara streaked down her face, still wearing that expensive blazer from our meeting. Is Brett here? She demanded. Not yet. I stepped aside. But please, come in. I ordered plenty of food. She hesitated, then stormed past me into the house. Her eyes darted around our living room, taking in the photos of Brett and me, the life she'd been promised fragments of. This is insane, she muttered. This whole thing is insane. The pad thai is excellent, I said, gesturing to the table. Though I'm sure you know that since Brett took you there 3 times last month, on my credit card. The front door opened. Brett walked in, stopping dead when he saw us both. What the hell is this? He sputtered. Dinner, I said cheerfully. Sit down, honey. Zara and I were just about to discuss your investment strategies. You had no right, he pointed at me, face reddening. Those accounts were funded with my income, I finished, which makes every transfer you made illegal. Want to explain to Zara where her luxury lifestyle really came from? Zara turned to Brett, hands shaking. You said the money was yours. You said you were a financial genius. Baby, I can explain. Don't baby me. She pulled out her phone. Look at this. Everything's gone. The house deposit, the investment accounts, everything. It's just a temporary setback. Brett tried to approach her, but she backed away. Once I sort things out with Edgar. Edgar? I laughed. He's meeting with the compliance board right now. Those irregular transfers you've been pushing through, they're very interested in those. Brett's face went from red to white. You're bluffing. I pulled out my phone, dialed, and put it on speaker. Danielle, Edgar's voice filled the room. Just finished the meeting. They're launching a full investigation. Brett lunged for the phone, but I stepped back. Thanks, Edgar. Keep me posted. You vindictive bitch, Brett spat. You're trying to destroy me. No, honey. I sat down at the dining table, serving myself some noodles. You did that all by yourself. I'm just making sure the consequences land where they should. Zara had been quiet, scrolling through her phone. The charity, she said suddenly. The one you sent the money to. It's legitimate. They help women who've been... She looked at Brett with dawning horror. How many others were there before me? What? Brett and I said simultaneously. She turned her phone around, showing a social media post from the charity. There was a photo of a woman who looked remarkably like Zara, sharing her story of being deceived by her married boyfriend, who'd promised her a future funded by stolen money. I found 3 similar stories on their page, Zara's voice cracked, all from the last 2 years, all involving financial advisors. I set down my fork, genuinely surprised. This was better than I'd planned. Brett's face had gone grey. They're lying. Like you lied about being unhappily married, Zara cut in. Like you lied about the money, like you're lying right now. Zara, please. Save it. She grabbed her bag. I've already spoken to the compliance board. They're very interested in my side of the story. Brett moved to block her path. You can't... Actually, she can. I stood up. And she should. In fact, Athena from the charity would love to hear your story, Zara. She's helped many women rebuild their lives after men like Brett used them. Don't pretend you're some kind of saint, Brett turned on me. You orchestrated this whole thing. No, I just exposed it. I smiled. The Thai food's getting cold, by the way. Zara reached for the door, then paused. She unclasped the Cartier watch and set it on the entry table. Keep it, she said to me. Sell it. Donate it to the charity. I don't want anything from him anymore. After she left, Brett and I stood in silence, the untouched food between us like a battlefield. I'll destroy you for this, he finally said. With what? I picked up the watch. Your clever investments, your stellar reputation. Face it, Brett. The game is over, and you lost. My phone buzzed. A text from Athena. Compliance board called. They want to meet tomorrow, bringing SEC. I showed it to Brett, watching the last of his bravado crumble. You should pack a bag, I suggested, but I'd avoid Mauritius if I were you. Extradition treaties, you know? He stared at me like he was seeing me for the first time. Maybe he was. The food's really getting cold, I said, sitting back down. But then again, revenge is a dish best served that way, isn't it? The compliance board's conference room felt colder than it should have. Brett sat across the table, his lawyer whispering urgently in his ear. Beside me, Athena arranged documents with precise, deliberate movements. Mrs. Johnston, the head investigator, leaned forward. Please walk us through the timeline of these transfers. Of course. I pulled out my folder. It began last March. The first transfer was $50,000, followed by... This is ridiculous, Brett interrupted. It was our joint account. I had every right. Mr. Johnston, his lawyer warned quietly. Actually, I continued, sliding forward bank statements, the accounts were funded primarily through my income. Brett's contributions were minimal, mainly because he was busy funding his other accounts. The investigator raised an eyebrow. Other accounts? Athena produced another stack of papers. We've documented at least 3 separate instances where Mr. Johnston created similar arrangements with other women, using the same method of financial manipulation. Brett's face went slack. That's not... You can't prove. But we can, Edgar spoke up from the end of the table. I've been tracking these irregularities for months. Each case follows the same pattern. The door opened, and Zara walked in, followed by 2 other women I didn't recognize. Brett's chair scraped back so quickly it nearly toppled. What are they doing here? He demanded. Providing testimony, Athena said calmly. Meet Rachel and Monica. They have interesting stories about promises you made, promises funded by other people's money. The 2 women sat down, both avoiding Brett's gaze. Rachel, a redhead in her 30s, spoke first. He told me his wife was dying, she said quietly, that he needed someone to help him through it. He took nearly $50,000 before I discovered the truth. Monica nodded. In my case, he said he was divorced. The money was supposedly from his settlement. This is a setup. Brett stood up, pointing at me. Danielle orchestrated this whole thing. Mr. Johnston, the investigator's voice cut through his protest. Please sit down. We have documentation of every transfer, every email, every promise you made. The question now is whether you'll cooperate or if we need to escalate this to criminal charges. Brett's lawyer grabbed his arm, pulling him back into his seat. My client wishes to cooperate fully. Like hell I do. Brett shrugged off the lawyer's grip. This is my money, my life. You can't just... It wasn't your money, Zara interrupted, her voice steady. It was never your money. You're a fraud, Brett, a professional liar who preys on women's trust. The room fell silent. Brett looked around wildly, like a cornered animal. Danielle, he tried, his voice softening. Baby, we can work this out. Remember what we built together? What we built? I smiled. No, Brett, I built it. You just took credit and spent the profits on your side projects. His lawyer cleared his throat. Perhaps we should take a brief recess. No need, Athena stood up. We have a proposal. She distributed new documents around the table. Full restitution to all affected parties, paid through the charity to maintain anonymity. Mr. Johnston agrees to resign from his position and undergo financial monitoring. In exchange, we don't pursue criminal charges. And if I refuse, Brett challenged, then we take this to the SEC, Edgar said. I'm sure they'd be very interested in some of your more creative accounting methods. Brett's lawyer snatched the agreement, scanning it quickly. Take the deal, he muttered. There's one more thing, I added, pulling out a final document. Divorce papers. I'm keeping the house, my full income, and my dignity. You can keep your guilt. You've thought of everything, haven't you? Brett's voice was bitter. Actually, you thought of everything, I corrected. I just connected the dots you left behind. The investigator cleared his throat. Mr. Johnston, your decision. Brett stared at the papers before him. The evidence of his deception, the agreements, the divorce papers. His carefully constructed world had crumbled, leaving him with only one choice. Fine, he spat, grabbing a pen. You win. No, Brett. I stood up, gathering my things. Nobody wins in situations like this. Some of us just lose less than others. As I walked out, Athena fell into step beside me. You okay? Better than okay. I glanced back at the conference room, where Brett was mechanically signing away his lies. The charity will put his restitution to good use. And you, she asked, what will you do now? Through the glass, I could see Zara, Rachel, and Monica talking quietly, their shared experience creating an unexpected bond. Sometimes healing comes from the most surprising places. Now, I smiled. Now I'm going to help other women recognize the Brett Johnstons of the world before they strike. Starting with that marketing campaign I promised your charity. After all, the best revenge isn't just about getting even. It's about making sure it never happens again. He's trying to back out of the agreement, Clara announced, bursting into my office a week later. Edgar just called. Brett's claiming coercion. I didn't look up from my laptop. Let him try. Aren't you worried? 3, 2, 1. My phone rang, and that would be his lawyer. I put it on speaker. Hello, Richard. Danielle. The lawyer sounded exhausted. We need to discuss your husband's concerns. Ex-husband, I corrected, and let me save us both some time. I clicked a few keys on my laptop. Check your email. There was a pause, then the sound of typing. What am I looking at? Brett's entire digital footprint, every email, text, and bank transfer he thought he'd deleted, plus statements from 6 more women who've come forward since our meeting. 6, Clara mouthed silently. I'll talk to him, Richard sighed. But Danielle, he's desperate. Desperate people do stupid things. I'm counting on it, I said, ending the call. Clara sat down across from me. What does that mean? Before I could answer, my office door flew open. Brett stormed in, looking disheveled. Security is on their way, my assistant called from behind him. It's fine, Sarah, I said calmly. This won't take long. Brett slammed his hands on my desk. You've ruined everything. The firm suspended me, my accounts are frozen, and now these women are coming out of nowhere with their lies. Are they lies, Brett? I pulled up a spreadsheet. Because the numbers don't lie. $250,000 total, spread across 9 women in 3 years. Very consistent pattern. I want my money back. Your money? I stood up slowly. Let's talk about money. Let's talk about how you used my income to fund your elaborate schemes. How you manipulated vulnerable women with promises you never intended to keep. How you think you're so clever, he sneered. But you're just like them. Desperate for attention, desperate to feel powerful. No, Brett, I'm nothing like your victims. I'm the one who stopped you. Security appeared at the door. Brett ignored them. I'll destroy you, he threatened. I'll tell everyone what a vindictive, manipulative... Tell them what? I interrupted, nodding to Clara, who started recording on her phone. That your wife caught you stealing, that multiple women have proof of your fraud, that you're facing potential criminal charges unless you honor our agreement. His face contorted. You bitch. And there it is, I said quietly. The real Brett, not the charming financial advisor, not the caring boyfriend, just an angry man who got caught, Mom? One of the security guards stepped forward. Should we remove him? Actually, a new voice said, we'll take it from here. Two men in suits appeared behind security, badges out. Mr. Johnston, SEC enforcement, we'd like to ask you some questions about certain irregular trading patterns we've noticed. Brett's face went from red to grey. I need my lawyer. Of course, one agent said. You can call him from our office. As they led Brett away, Clara let out a low whistle. You called the SEC? No, I smiled. Edgar did. Turns out Brett's creative accounting went way beyond personal accounts. The firm's internal audit found some very interesting discrepancies. My phone buzzed, a text from Athena. Turn on the news. I grabbed the remote, switching on the office TV. A reporter stood outside Brett's firm. Multiple allegations of financial misconduct. Sources say the investigation began after several women came forward with similar stories of deception and fraud. Clara stared at the screen. You leaked it to the press? No. I switched off the TV. Zara did. Turns out she's quite good at social media strategy after all. My assistant appeared at the door. Danielle, Athena's here with the campaign mock-ups. Athena walked in, carrying a portfolio. Ready to see how we're going to help other women spot the Brett Johnstons of the world, I gestured to my conference table. Show me. She laid out the designs. Powerful images of women reclaiming their lives, their finances, their dignity. The tagline read, Your trust has value. Don't let anyone steal it. It's perfect, I said softly. Almost perfect, Clara corrected, showing us her phone. Breaking news. Brett's firm had suspended him pending investigation. His assets were frozen. His reputation was in tatters. Now it's perfect, I agreed. Athena squeezed my hand. You know, when you first came to me, I worried revenge would consume you, but you turned it into something bigger, because it was never just about revenge, I said, looking at the campaign materials. It was about justice, and justice, I smiled as another news alert about Brett popped up, is a dish best served to everyone. Clara raised her coffee cup. To karma. No, I shook my head, picking up my own cup. To consequences, and making sure they find their way home. The charity event buzzed with energy as I watched Zara take the stage. She'd become our most powerful speaker, turning her pain into purpose. I thought I was special, she told the packed room. He made me feel chosen, but I was just another mark in his con game. Today, I help other women recognize the signs I missed. From my spot near the back, I could see Rachel and Monica nodding. They'd found their voices too, each adding their stories to our growing network of survivors. My phone vibrated, a news alert about Brett. He'd pleaded guilty to multiple fraud charges. No jail time, but permanent disbarment from financial services and mandatory restitution to all victims. Quite a turnout, Edgar said, appearing beside me with 2 glasses of champagne. The firm's partners are impressed. They're talking about making the charity our permanent pro bono client. Good, I accepted a glass. They owe us that much, considering they missed Brett's schemes for years. Speaking of Brett, Edgar nodded toward the entrance. Brett stood there, looking smaller somehow in his off-the-rack suit. Our eyes met across the room. He started walking over. Want me to call security? Edgar asked. No, I said. Let him come. Brett stopped a few feet away, hands shoved in his pockets. Nice event. It is, I agreed. Though you're not on the guest list. I know, He glanced around at the women whose lives he'd affected. I wanted to see what you built from the wreckage I created. Did you expect me to crash and burn? Honestly, yes. He smiled bitterly. I thought without me, you'd fall apart. Instead, you turned my mess into a movement. That's the difference between us, Brett. You saw people as stepping stones. I see them as bridges. Athena approached, her expression ice cold. Is there a problem here? No problem, Brett said quickly. I'm leaving. I just wanted to say... He paused. I'm sorry. Not that it matters now. You're right, I said. It doesn't. As he turned to go, I called after him. Brett, that Cartier watch you bought Zara, we auctioned it last week, raised enough to fund 3 women's legal fees. He nodded once and walked away. I watched him disappear into the night, no longer the monster under my bed, just a cautionary tale for our next support group. You okay? Athena asked. Better than okay. I gestured to the room full of women supporting women. This is what winning really looks like. Clara joined us, grinning. Wait till you hear this. That blog post about Brett's schemes just went viral. Women are flooding our hotline with similar stories. Good, I said. Direct them to Zara's workshop. She's launching a financial literacy program next week. Using Brett's restitution money to fund it, Athena added with satisfaction. On stage, Zara was wrapping up. And remember, your worth isn't measured by someone else's lies. It's measured by your own truth. The crowd erupted in applause. I watched as women hugged, exchanged numbers, formed connections. Some cried, recognizing their own stories in others. Some laughed, celebrating their freedom from similar situations. Danielle, my assistant Sarah, appeared. The reporter from the Financial Times is here for your interview. Tell her I'll be right there. I turned to Clara. Ready to help me tell the whole story? The whole story? She raised an eyebrow. Even the part about redirecting his offshore accounts. Especially that part. I smiled. It's time everyone learned how to fight back legally and strategically. As we headed toward the interview, I passed the charity's new billboard mock-up. It showed a woman standing in her power, the tagline bold beneath, Your trust has value, so do you. The reporter stood as we approached. Ms. Holland, your campaign has sparked a national conversation about financial abuse in relationships. Did you expect this level of impact? I thought about Brett's face when he realized he'd lost everything. About Zara finding her voice. About Rachel and Monica rebuilding their lives. About all the women who would now recognize the warning signs we'd missed. Actually, I said, this is exactly what I expected, because the thing about karma is, it works best when we help it along. Clara squeezed my hand as the reporter hit record. Behind us, another group of women entered the event, each carrying their own story, ready to turn their pain into power. This wasn't just revenge anymore. It was revolution, and it was just beginning. So, the reporter leaned forward. Tell me how it all started. I smiled, thinking of that first bank statement that had changed everything. It started with a number that didn't add up.